Today, we're embarking on a journey through the shadows of our financial system, exploring a topic that is as fascinating as it is crucial, the Federal Reserve System. And we're going to do it by taking a closer look at a groundbreaking book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, by G. Edward Griffin. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Federal Reserve? That sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. But trust me, this is no ordinary story. It's a tale of secrecy, power, and a banking cartel that has shaped the course of history in ways you might never have imagined. Let's set the scene. It's November 1910, and the world is on the brink of monumental change. But in the United States, a secret meeting is taking place that will alter the course of history in ways that few could have predicted. Picture this. A group of the world's most powerful financiers, including Senator Nelson Aldrich, J.P. Morgan's right-hand man Henry Davison, and Paul Warburg, a representative of the Rothschild banking dynasty, are gathered in complete secrecy on Jekyll Island, Georgia. Their mission? To create a blueprint for what would eventually become the Federal Reserve System. But why all the secrecy? Well, these men represented a staggering 1/4 of the world's wealth, and they were determined to protect their interests. They knew that if the public caught wind of their plan to form a banking cartel, it would be dead in the water. So, they disguised their meeting as a duck-hunting trip, using aliases and taking every precaution to ensure their true identities remained hidden. Imagine the scene. A private railway car, luxurious and discreet, whisks these men away to a remote island. They arrive under the cover of darkness, their identities concealed from even the servants who attend to their every need. Their goal? To create a cartel that would eliminate competition, control the money supply, and use the power of the government to enforce their agreement. In other words, they were crafting a system that would allow them to create money out of nothing, lend it to the government and the public, and collect interest on it forever. Fast forward to 1913, and the Federal Reserve Act is passed into law. But here's the kicker. The Federal Reserve isn't federal. It doesn't hold reserves. And it's not even a bank in the traditional sense. It's a cartel, plain and simple, disguised as a government agency. The architects of the Federal Reserve were masters of deception. They knew that to sell their plan to Congress and the public, they had to make it sound like a measure to protect the public. So they crafted a system that appeared to be decentralized, with regional branches, but was in fact controlled by a powerful Federal Reserve Board in Washington. The Federal Reserve Act was a masterstroke of political maneuvering. It was sold as a reform bill, but in reality, it was a carefully crafted plan to consolidate financial power in the hands of a few. The Jekyll Island conspirators had succeeded in creating a central bank that would operate in the shadows, free from public scrutiny and political interference. Now, let's talk about how the Federal Reserve creates money. This is where things get really interesting. The process is known as the Mandrake mechanism, named after the magician who could create things out of nothing. Here's how it works. The Federal Reserve buys government bonds and other debt instruments, and it pays for them with checks that have no money in the account to back them up. These checks are, in effect, creating money out of thin air. The government then spends this newly created money, and it enters the economy. But that's just the beginning. The real magic happens when the commercial banks get involved. Thanks to the fractional reserve banking system, banks are required to keep only a fraction of their deposits in reserve. This means they can lend out far more money than they actually have. So when the Fed creates new money, the banks can multiply it by up to 9 times through the process of lending. This is how the money supply expands, and it's also how inflation is created. The more money that is pumped into the system, the less each dollar is worth. It's a hidden tax that erodes the purchasing power of your money over time. The consequences of the Federal Reserve's policies are all around us. The boom-bust cycles that have plagued our economy for decades are a direct result of the Fed's manipulation of the money supply. The Great Depression, the stagflation of the 1970s, and the financial crisis of 2008 can all be traced back to the actions of the Federal Reserve. But the impact of the Fed goes beyond just the economy. The ability to create money out of nothing has given the government the power to wage wars without having to raise taxes. The Federal Reserve has financed both world wars, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and countless other conflicts. It has turned war into a profitable enterprise for the bankers and politicians who control the system. And let's not forget the role of the Fed in the global transfer of wealth. Through institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, the Federal Reserve has become the lender of last resort for the entire world. It has used the wealth of the American people to prop up corrupt regimes, fund socialist experiments, and create a global financial system that benefits the elite at the expense of the masses. So, what can we do about it? The solution, according to Griffin, is to abolish the Federal Reserve System and return to a sound monetary system based on precious metals. He outlines a 16-step plan to achieve this goal, which includes repealing legal tender laws, freezing the supply of Federal Reserve notes, and issuing new currency backed by gold and silver. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a radical proposal. And it is. But as Griffin argues, the current system is unsustainable. The only way to break free from the cycle of boom and bust, inflation, and government debt is to fundamentally change the way we create and manage money. In conclusion, The Creature from Jekyll Island is a wake-up call to all of us. It challenges us to question the assumptions that underpin our financial system and to consider the possibility that there is a better way. Whether you agree with Griffin's conclusions or not, his book is a valuable contribution to the debate about the role of the Federal Reserve and the future of our economy. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope this episode has sparked your curiosity and encouraged you to learn more about the forces that shape our world. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a comment. And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and keep learning.
This has been a BrightLearn video from BrightLearn.ai on the book The Creature from Jekyll Island, A Second Look at the Federal Reserve by G. Edward Griffin. Visit BrightLearn.ai for more fascinating videos like this one, and visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage and breaking news on critical stories that keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.